when you log into Kronos, this is the main screen that you're going to see. So you have all your employees sorted alphabetically here. This is their badge number that they clock in at the clock with. So you'll note here, the majority of them are 4 digits, but a couple of them are 3. And that's because in the last 4 of their social, the first letter is a 0. So they have 0715.
Oh.
So they can clock in at the clock with either one and it'll translate into Kronos properly. But if they clock in with a 0 on the clock, it'll just say, it won't show their name, but the punch still, yeah, but the punch still translates into Kronos. But if people are ever confused, that's what's happening. And then you have just the columns over here. So you have total hours, which includes regular overtime, double time. And then this is just an at a glance view of their time. To dive into their time, you can select you can either select people individually and double click on it, or you can come up to actions and say select all the employees, and then it highlights everyone, you open one person, and then you can just go down the line without having to click into someone, go back to the main screen, and then click into someone again. So if we open, I'm gonna pull up our test people too. So if we double click on James's time, here you'll see his hours here. And if for some reason his hours are incorrect, you can come here and you can just click in there and then you can type out the correct time. And so I'm going to jump over to our test employee so we don't change his time at all. And this is where you can just, since I selected multiple people, I'm able to come here and choose a different employee from the list. So if I come here, you'll see that I have in and out punch times, but here I'm missing some times for this employee. If say this person left at 5 o'clock, you would just type in 500 and a P. If you need to move the times, so say they clocked out at 1 o'clock and clocked in at 8 o'clock, you would just change this to 8 a.m., change this to 1 o'clock p.m., and you can tab through the different times as well. And you could also change the date here if you need to. So if, and a good example is if someone on the overnight shift did not clock in, but they clocked out, they would be clocking out the next day. So you would want to come here and you would want to say they clocked in on the 2nd at 10:30 p.m. and then they clocked out at 6:30 a.m. And what this would do is it would automatically just adjust and say this is the 2nd at 10:30 p.m. and then this would be the 3rd at 6:30 a.m. and it'll automatically know that. And then when I click save, it saves all the times. And then that is it for your employees. So once you're confident on the time, then you can either approve this employee's time, or you could keep going through everyone's time and then approve it all together.
It doesn't show a total time for the week?
It does down here. It doesn't on here for the test employee, but if I go up to James, down at the bottom, it has 40 regular, 17 and a half overtime. And something you can see here is, I'm going to jump to the test one. You can also see the audit trail. So you can see who, I made all these changes right here. And say you come in here and you're like, one of these punches looks a little off. You can come to the audit trail and you can see what I did, or if you are moving one of their punches to another spot and you forget the time, you'll also be able to see what you adjusted here. So you can see that I changed hours, and also down here that I added hours. And then you can also see what they punched in at the clock. So if you go to options and punches, you can see what times they punched in on the actual clock. And then once you guys have multiple clocks, where it says source, this is the name of the clock. So what it'll do is you can see all the different locations that they're punched in at as well. And you'll be able to see that over here in the labor levels as well. So Sam, I think you might have done a couple test punches from the clock, and so it says the location is TRMI.
Yes, yeah, I have done a couple test punches out there.
So the next thing you can do is you can, once all the time is adjusted, you want to approve the time. So you can select the employees that you want to approve, and you come to group edit, and you can say approve selected. And this is where you can either approve everyone, so you can go to actions and select all the employees on the page, or you would just come to the few employees. And
Now,
then
the only time you gotta do that is when you edit them, right? Otherwise, they're automatically approved.
you would just want to, there's two options. So you either want to approve it before you run payroll, and there's two settings you can have. You can have one where it automatically approves before payroll runs, or you can say, I want to make sure we review everyone's time and I'll approve it. And unless it's approved, it won't be included in the payroll run. Item that we did, so we went over this main screen view, selecting employees, reviewing and editing time, approving time. And then the last item we have here is running reports. So at the top here under the report button, you have a bunch of different reports that you have here. And the first one is timekeeping. Timekeeping is the majority of the reports that you're going to run. So and what is run most is the punch detail report. Sometimes people also will run an on-premise report. The punch detail report gives you the most information of people's hours, and the on-premise report is if you need to know who is currently clocked in at that time on that day.
Yeah, usually facilities that do fire alarm tests would want that information.
Yeah, and we can even put it where they can pull it up on a tablet or anything where they can just hit a button and then it pulls up the report, and will say who is currently clocked in at that time, so they can verify them in a case of an emergency. Or you can even call.
Is there a report that we can pull like during the week to tell us who's missing punches, like exceptions in the time clock?
Mm-hmm. So here, that is under the punch detail report. And what you can do is, so once we're clicked on, we have punch detail report selected, I always choose Excel just because it's easiest to manipulate. And then here you have detail or summary. The detail will show you every single punch, and that's what you'll want here, especially if you're looking for missing punches. The summary is just the total for the date range that you're running, and it won't show you the in and out punches. So if you want to know who is missing a punch, you want to choose exceptions only. When you check the box right here, it'll open all these exceptions for you. So you can choose missing in and out punch if they clocked in early, if they clocked in late. And then what that'll do is it'll run through and it'll only give you the punches for the people who either clocked in and didn't clock out, or clocked out and didn't clock in.
Okay, that makes sense.
And then here for the next part, you can, I always choose include for manually posted records. That just means any time that was entered on the computer by you. And then I sort it by worked. When I run with an Excel, I don't choose page break by sort option. That's only if you need it by a PDF. And what that'll do is that will, you can sort it where you can say alphabetic by name, or you can do it by division. And what that'll be is it can separate those different people onto different pages. So if I say alphabetic by employee, it'll automatically sort by employees. And then you can come here and you can just select the date. So if we want to run it for, let's run it for last week. And then for the hours, you're always going to want to choose 12 o'clock a.m. to 11:59 p.m. The first time that you enter all this information on here, it stays here for every other time. So you won't need to add the time in after the first time you run it. And then here under employee number, if you want to run the report for just a specific employee, you click on this drop down and you can choose the employee that you want to run the report for. Or if you want to run it for a specific department, then you can choose it here as well. And then when you click on run, it'll show you that the report has been submitted. You'll click on refresh and it'll come here to completed. And when you double click, it can open it.
So when we get multiple clocks, you just select the clock you want to run the reports on that at that point?
Yeah, you would select the clock or you would select the division, like the location.
Yeah, okay.
And then this is what the report will look like. So you have these employees here, about 6 employees, and it'll show you the date that they clocked in on, and then it'll show, and then you can go into Kronos and just add the time in for here.